Hey guys, welcome back to the Goodfellow Podcast. I am your host, Joe Barone. If you like us, please subscribe to this channel, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget about the Patreon channel too. We got some different things going on there. Like I said, a lot of records, a lot of fact checking that I do there about myself, nobody else. Court transcripts, things of that nature to look at, and also some other funny things, some funny stories that I just don't put on the air. And of course, as everybody saw me a couple of weeks ago, singing and playing the guitar and things of that nature. So it's a lot of fun. So I appreciate you guys tuning in again. I just want to give a shout out also to my good friend Dominic Sicali. He hurt his back. Unbelievable. I can't believe it. To me, he was like Superman, but I guess it happens as we get a little older. So, Dominic, I hope you're feeling better. And don't forget, Dominic will be coming out with his book, The Perfect Crime Family. They're just tweaking it a little bit here and there. I actually like the new cover of the book. It's going to be really good. And then also I want to give a shout out to my dear friend Charlie Buono and his book. I always promote him because he is a good friend of mine. From Crime to Christ. Excellent book, okay? I appreciate that too. Charlie's a good man. And I always liked and respected Charlie because he was a man of convictions. He stuck to his guns no matter what. Also, we're going to be coming up with a new segment, too. It's going to be called Ask Joe. So I appreciate all the comments that you guys give. Very, very kind to you. But this segment we want to do, like, if you want to know what it is to, like, as a matter of fact, today's show is going to be about how to stay alive in the Mafia. Okay, and I'm going to get into that. But the Ask Joe is about, how do you get involved? How do you stay alive? Or any questions you want, ask them, because that's what it's going to be called, Ask Joe. It's just going to be a little something, highlight a few other things as we're working on our guest shows to come in or to do Skype.
Yeah, guys, ask Joe anything you want in the comments, and send it to our email. Any kind of questions, whether it be personal advice, about Wise Guy life, about being an informant, about Joe's life, anything you want, life, any kind of questions. It's going to be a new segment at the end of each episode called Ask Joe Barone.
Yeah, even personal questions, if I could answer them, I will. As a matter of fact, I think we had some people call in on that phone number, right? Are we going to play any of that today?
Yeah,
we can. Yeah,
we can.
Okay, so that's good. We're going to answer a lot of questions too. So with that, basically. Here's a picture of me when I was in the 90s of the first, this is my first bit. I was just starting to let my hair grow a little longer back then, which I'm going to start again too. Everybody's talking about it. Even though I wish I could stop cutting it but what are you going to do? You always go in between those stages. Anyway, I was, as everybody knows, I did 4 years on my first bid, and I always was more or less an associate. Somebody had asked me a question before I forget this one about, I think the guy's number is 777. He says, well, you were a wise guy or an associate? Well, I was an associate, but I portrayed myself to be a wise guy because eventually I probably was going to become one, and that's another story. So I'm in the prison, and I met this guy. I was with around a lot of guys. Funzy, Danny Ticchio, oh man, so many wise guys. Joey Bang Bang. Just so many wise guys. Audie, there's another guy who was in a wheelchair. I think I talked about him at another time. Well, I'm in prison with this guy, Louis Mena. Now, Louis Mena was a guy who, he used to go around, I think he was involved in some big drug deals, but also they used to rob a lot of drug dealers because he was Spanish. One of the guys in on it, I'm pretty sure, was Tommy Karate. And I don't know if you guys know about Tommy Karate Patera, his last name was. He was in a Bonanno family. He was more or less a hitman. He actually used to get in the bathtub with you and cut you up in pieces. Matter of fact, his own crew was scared of him because he would just kill everybody. Matter of fact, he pretty much killed everybody. The last guy that he didn't kill was, they called him, I think it was Frankie Shoes. And that's the guy who wound up testifying against him. So he was pretty pissed off about not doing that. And even when Sammy the Bull was, everybody found out that he was going to join the government and cooperate, he actually wanted to get in a room with him. He says, put Sammy and me in the room for 5 minutes. No. 3 minutes. He says, I'll do it. Just me and him alone. Because, everybody thought Sammy was tough back then. That's why they called him the Bull and that kind of thing. But Tommy Patera actually studied martial arts in Japan.
Wow.
Yeah. He was a small guy and used to get beat up a lot, and that changed. Yeah, nobody was beating up Tommy anymore. He had a couple of schools and stuff like that too as well. But anyways, he's doing life in prison. What a surprise. Um, so we go in prison. So I'm with Lewis and I'm in the cell with him and everything. And we had a lot of things going on. We used to have one of the guards in there. We used to back in the days they used to give you rolls of dimes for the laundry and everything like that. And so we used to get a collection of money, and then we gave it to one of the CEOs over there, and he would bring us in some chicken parmesan, some donuts and stuff like that. So we were doing that for a while. But Lewis was very nervous. I could always tell something was going on with him. So we talked as we were in the cell together. We talked. So Danny Ticchio came to me once and he said, "Listen, Joe," he says, "you see this kid, what they're doing to him now? I didn't know this, but they were threatening him to keep his mouth shut." So I says, "Oh, what's going on, Lewis?" And Lewis was getting along with all the guys. He actually introduced me to a guy, Richie Davis, who actually was a guy who had all the pictures in his cell back in those days. He had the deer with the antlers and everything, and him with his flannel shirt with the gun and his hat. And I said, "Damn, I didn't even know what he was in for because he looked like more of an accountant." Well, sure enough, Lewis says to me, "No, he was an accountant. He used to count the fingers, the hands, the arms, So I was like, okay. Richie was a funny guy. Matter of fact, he said, he gave me a Christmas card. And I said, I was like shocked. I says, okay. And I opened it up and it said, "Merry Christmas, $50 redeemable upon my release," because I think he was getting life. And so that's kind of like funny in there, that kind of humor. And matter of fact, later on, I'll tell you the story that I heard about Michael Francis saying about something that was funny as shit. But Danny Ticchio come to me and he says, "Look," he says, "look what they're doing to this kid." And he says, instead of pulling this guy close, keeping him like, "Hey, you're with us. Don't worry about it. We know you're okay." They scaring him, threatening him. "Keep your mouth shut, this and this and that." And so finally I walked up to, Lewis, we were in the cell together, and I said, "Let me ask you a question." I said, "What's going on with you?" He goes, "Well, Joe," and he told me how big he was and what he was doing with all the drugs. And he had a lot of money, supposedly. Well, come down to it, there's a guy, Frankie Smith. Now, Frankie Smith, I met him in the joint. Frankie Smith was a tough guy, too. This is a picture of Frankie. He wound up later on cooperating as himself too. Now, Frankie and I actually we made eye contact together, and it was almost go time because I don't know, I wasn't backing down from him, but he gave me a dirty look, and he was tough though. He might even beat me up, so I don't know. And then he checked out my girlfriend at that time in the visiting room, so that's why I gave him a dirty look back, and this and this and that. But we were in the hole together, not in the same cell, but we talked. As a matter of fact, he's actually the one, I might have said this before, they had that thing that Sammy killed 19 people. He's actually the one that told me about the two brothers and one other guy that he killed. It was more like 21, 22 guys or something like that. But now whether that's true or not, I don't know. Well, Frankie Smith was a tough guy. Then there's another guy, Louis Bellata. This is a picture of Louis over there. This guy's a big guy, tough too. He was no joke, and did a lot of time. Had a lot of years under his belt. Okay, career, whatever you want to call him. But Louis used to work at the wood shop in this place. I was in Otisville at that time, so he used to go in there and he would make things and stuff like that. So one day he says to me, he says, "Joe," he says, "can you do me a favor?" He says, "Can you come to the wood shop?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So when the buzzer rang and you get to move in there, you get like 45 minutes in between the way the buzzer moves. So if you're in the yard, you got time. You only have like a few minutes to get from the yard back to your cell or vice versa. Well, I go to the shop and I don't know what's going on. He didn't tell me. So we're talking for a few minutes in there, and then I hung out with him to see what he was doing in the wood shop. But it was pretty cool what he was doing. Now the buzzer rings again and we get ready to go. Well, now this was not what I was expecting. There was a whole line of guys. This guy Louis, Frank, the ones I just mentioned. Another guy, I think they called him Frank the German, was there. He was a big guy too. I don't know if I could find a picture of him, but if we can, I was actually with him again in MDC on my second bid. And we talked about one of the guys, another guy, Scotty, was a muscular dude. I mean, one of the strongest guy, pound for pound, we knew in the joint too. Forget about an animal. And there's all these guys lined up. They were actually going to jump Lewis in there and probably kill him. Okay? So they looked at me walking with him, and don't get me wrong, they weren't afraid of me, so I'm not trying to act like, oh, yeah, I got this going on, and they were scared of me. No, 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 no. It's just that they were expecting him to be alone, and he wasn't. So they let it go. Well, when I got back to the cell, Lewis said to me, see what was going on, Joe? And he told me the whole story. And I says, wow. He says, you saved my life. I said, nah, I just walked with you. He said, no, Joe. He says, when I get out of here, he says, I'm going to give you $1 million. I said, wow. Yeah, this is a true story. Matter of fact, if the picture that you're showing with Lewis, it says he was in touch with my Aunt Betty, and he used to say all the time about like how he was going to, in the writing down there, that he was going to, everything's going to be okay already, like that. He used to talk to my Aunt Betty all the time. He used to send letters, or he would call, because I'm going to tell you exactly how he got out of his trouble and out of the prison. And this is important because I'll show you how it was staged. So we talked about it for about maybe a couple of days or whatever. And I said, nah, Louis. He says, no, Joe. He says, nobody ever took my back the way you did. He says, and, I got a lot of money. He says, don't worry, $1 million, nothing. I said, okay. Now, to me, $1 million would have been a lot. That was the early 90s. Anyways, I hear his thing in the yard. What happens is they set it up between him and the guards. I guess he decided to cooperate. So it might have been a week later or something like that, maybe even 2 weeks. In the yard, he gets nasty with one of the COs, and he throws one of the basketballs at the COs. And you can't do that. So now they take him in. They're going to bring him into the box, the SHU, special housing unit, whatever, the whole. And so that's how I didn't get a chance to see Lewis anymore, except that he kept in touch with my aunt. They set that whole thing up so that it would look like he wasn't going to cooperate.
Wow.
But, yeah. You see, this is how the government works. You don't even know. Okay? Just like they did to my friend Ralphie Giordano, who used to own the Giordano Funeral Home in the Bronx. Same thing with him too. Him and another Spanish guy. They were making. He estimated about $400,000 while he was in the joint, getting all green cards for.
Wow.
Getting all green cards for the illegal immigrants. So he had his girlfriend, who just had his baby. She was a lot younger than him, about maybe 20 years younger than him, maybe 15 years younger than him, something like that. She just had the baby, his brother, and maybe somebody else. But anyway, he was doing that, so they were helping him do all this stuff, with all these Spanish people. Look, they were charging him big money. These were drug dealers out there that they had big money. And he was charging them 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, whatever it was. They didn't care. So anyway, they grabbed him the same way too, but they just came, they arrested him, and he wasn't cooperating with the government. But then they said, we're going to have your girlfriend arrested, your kid's going to go into one of those places or whatever, your brother's going to get arrested, all this crazy shit. So then he cooperated, and I understand, I get it, but he stuck up for his family. To me, Ralphie was good. We had a lot of fun. Ralphie, Eddie Kavanaugh, all of those guys. We used to sit, Frankie Martini, all those guys, the wise guys. We had a big long table in there in the back, But Lewis and I actually met each other when he got out and when I got out. Went to see my Aunt Betty and everything. Got her flowers, did all this kind of stuff. I never asked him about the money, but I was wondering what happened to it. Well, lo and behold, I never got it. So I'm $1 million shy, okay? But anyway, that's sometimes people make promises in jail and they break them or they keep them. It all depends, you know what I mean? But I just wanted to give that little story about Lewis, and that's one of the things I did while I was away. And I had forgotten about that story until something came up, I said on TV, and it just kind of sparked my mind and reminded me of it. So, but anyways, how to stay alive in the Mafia is basically the subject for today. The whole thing about staying alive in the Mafia is doing the right thing. And what I mean by that is, don't mess with another man's wife or girlfriend. I don't care what kind of shit they tell you about, if they're fighting with them or arguing with them, or my wife's no good, or my gumada. Don't worry about none of that shit. Stay away from somebody else's girlfriend, and that's it. That's the most important thing. The other thing is do the right thing. In other words, if you're making a few dollars, you don't always have to tell them exactly how much you made, but you got to kick up something. So kick up a decent amount, 20%, 10%, no more than that, because then they start getting greedy. You know what I mean? And sort of be truthful with them. You know what I mean? If look, they don't like the drugs, but they'll never really ask you if you're doing it. But if you're doing something like that, you got to be careful and know that can get you killed, because you're not supposed to be doing certain things like that.
Why is that?
Well, because the drugs, back in the days, they used to deal with drugs in the old days. But now they tack on so much time. It brings a lot of low lifes around you, and it's
law enforcement, probably unwanted attention, right?
Yeah, they try to stay as low key as they can, but if the guy's dealing drugs, they'll keep it under wraps, and they'll take the envelope and they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't know he was doing that." Yeah, that's always a lie.
Yeah. Play dumb.
Yeah, but they play it off like that. But for the most part, just kind of be honest, like, as far as do what you got to do, because if they have a long reach, and they always find out when you're doing something wrong, or if something's going on, or somebody tells something about you, even if it's not even true. They'll make up the story, because there's somebody who's always jealous of you or envies you in some way, because you either making more money than them, or maybe the boss favors you a little bit more. So if you just if you stay the straight line, do what your boss tells you. You know what I'm saying? Don't act like a jerk out when you're in public. You got to keep your appearances up. That's what they even used to say when I was in the joint. Sometimes I wouldn't shave because I didn't care. I figured I'm in the joint. But they said to me, no, Joe, you got to keep up appearances. So because then the people start thinking, oh, well, look at him. He's a little disheveled. He's letting his face hair grow. He's not getting a haircut, not keeping himself groomed or clean. And then they start thinking you're going to flip.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So, you have to do all of this kind of stuff like that. And, you be respectful to the old timers. You don't got to kiss their ass. Don't get me wrong. I almost had a little fight with Joey Bang Bang, and he was asking me a lot of questions about my case. I said, Joe, who the fuck are you to ask questions? So my other cellmate later on, Joe Corky, he said, don't take no shit from these guys, Joe. And I said, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to, and I didn't. But like I said, you respect. It's all about, even though there's a lot of honor that's been lost over the years, the wise guys, the codes, and all of this shit got watered down a lot. And don't get me wrong, there's still, if you have respect. I had to go collect money one time. A friend of mine grabbed me and he said to me, look, we got this guy, blah, 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 and he owes us the money. And I says, okay, I'll go talk to him. But what they didn't tell me is the amounts of threats he was getting. So this guy was scared. And he told me this when I talked to him. Matter of fact, he went to go see some wise guys about me, and he said, listen, I wish I owed that guy Joe Barone money. He was a gentleman, you know what I'm saying? He was, because I know how to be a gentleman. And I told my friend there, I said, I'm never going to help you out again or anything like that. I don't even care if you pay me or not, because you didn't tell me. This guy could have shot me when I walked in there. You didn't tell me you were threatening. Yeah. I'm like, that's not what you're supposed to do. So basically, you just do the right things, kick up what you got. And, listen, most of these guys can't trust their own anybody, and that's just the way it is in that kind of lifestyle. So you got to be careful, but you got to keep kind of like walk a straight line, Stay away from drugs. Don't do drugs yourself. Don't show yourself out there in the streets getting drunk and stuff like that. Have a good time, get a little tipsy, but wheel it in. And it all depends on how levels you are. Like Dominic and I, we used to go out. We had a ball. Back then he used to drink, I think, the Kettle One and tonic sometimes, and I drank the same drink with him. And yeah, we got buzzed up, but it was always just either me and him with a girl and my girl or whatever the case may be. So we never really had any problems, But if my friend had a problem, I was going to be there 1,000%. And win, lose, or draw, doesn't matter. So, everybody knows certain codes. Just stick to them, basically, and that's how you get along. That's how more or less you survive.
Did anybody ever try to was it grounds to be killed if you tried to go to another family? Like they tried to flip sides, or if they found out you were working with another family as well as them.
That could happen. But basically, who are you? If you're just a soldier and you are doing something with somebody in another family, bring it to your captain.
Right.
Tell them. That's all. Say, listen.
So you can do stuff like that. You just have to let everybody
know. Sure, you could work together.
Right.
Yeah, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're keeping it like a secret,
Then it's like, what else are you keeping a secret?
Yeah, you gotta be careful how you talk and how you walk. You know what I mean? You gotta listen. Like I said, even if you're dealing drugs, don't make it like yeah, look at me, I'm doing it. Be careful. Just keep it low key. You know what I mean? Look, John Gotti. Everybody says, oh, he ruined the mob. He was flashy. He was this. You know what? That might be true. I can't say that that's not true. But something, he was the type of guy who came from nothing, was poor, whatever he had going on. He wanted to wear a nice suit. He was making millions of dollars every year. And he said, fuck this. I'm going to either die in prison, die in the street, or whatever. I'm going to enjoy the good life. Now, unfortunately, it was a little too out there, but, John Gotti was might have made a few mistakes, but who don't in that life? Who don't in any life,
He may have accelerated the down or the kind of like, how the mob had to move underground and kind of start doing things a little differently where they weren't so obvious because of, it was such in the public eye at that point. But I think that would have happened anyway. He might have accelerated it, but you had all that happening at the same time that like cameras were going on up on every street corner and digital influence and cops are getting better with their crime solving techniques, all the technology. So I think it would have happened anyway, the downfall of the mob, but definitely brought it about a little quicker.
Well, look at Carlo Gambino. I mean, he looked like somebody's grandfather. Nobody ever saw or ever heard of him. I mean, every once in a while you see him in a picture with maybe Frank Sinatra and things of that nature. But this is a guy who lived in the same house for 50 years, 60 years. He never, that's it. He didn't care. He must have had a ton of money, whatever he had, because they were in the garment district and all of this stuff like that. But, listen, the time when everybody's got a camera, the phone, the this, the that, you know what I mean? They got everything, and but listen, it looks glamorous to a lot of people out there. Obviously, it does, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? But that's how you try to stay alive. The most important thing is just try to run. It's like anything out. You could be bold, you could be adventurous, you could be sort of come up with a new idea. But if you got a good rapport, like I did with Dominic Hughes, my captain, I could have told him anything, and either would have been a good thing, or he would have just said, "No, we're not doing anything like that." But I would know pretty much that we're not. You know what I mean? But Dominic was always open to making money, legitimate money, or anything else too. So,
did you ever, when you were coming up in the Mafia, not necessarily at the point where you were an informant yet, but did you ever see anybody else come out as an informant and be killed for that or arrested or?
I never saw anybody get killed for that. I've seen people get the people's families get threats and stuff like that.
Oh man.
If we knew somebody who was going to be a rat and they were near us, they were going to either get the shit beat out of them somehow, some way. We wouldn't allow that kind of stuff in the neighborhood. You couldn't come back and things of that nature.
So you would threaten them if you had an inclination that they might flip, but if you found out that they actually did, that's death, right?
Yeah. Look, I mentioned the story about where my father had to bring that guy down from Scarsdale to go see Mickey Generosa. They asked him some questions. They were feeling him out, is what they did. They actually did that on my second bid. Murray Richmond had a couple of lawyers that come to see me, and there was a guy, this guy Bacala, who was with my cousin. I believe he was with the Lucchese guys. And
that was his nickname, Bacala?
Yeah, Bacala, yeah. His name was Joe something, I forget, but they called him Bacala. Well, he was a big shot, big time, and he sent the lawyers, he called up Mary Richmond's office, they sent 2 attorneys, and they were like, listen, we could help you. They were feeling me out. They were to see if I was going to flip, and that's how the word more or less got out, even in the street, before even anybody knew anything. Because these people, it's like anything else too, like with this guy, they took him down, my father drove him down to Brooklyn, they talked to him, and then they gave my father the nod that he had to go, because they suspected it, and it turned out to be that was true. And then I told you they found him hanging and stuff like that in his garage, but they ruled it a suicide, but it wasn't a suicide, so it is what it is.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
So did you know anybody coming up, close friends that were killed for, foolish things like that, fooling around with somebody's wife, or, were any of your friends succumb to that?
Dominic also talks about this guy Gucci, Joe Gucci, the limousine place. Supposedly he was fooling around on his girlfriend. He wasn't nobody, but he had a lot of good contacts.
Yeah.
He had the Gucci limousine, and his own wife had him taken out right in his own driveway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she got caught because the guy got caught, and then he ratted on the wife that he did it, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of people in the street getting killed that I knew that was doing the wrong thing. Like, it was Ralphie Coppola. Ralphie Coppola. I grew up with Ralphie. He was from the Bronx too, and they said he was skimming money and doing bad things, and he got killed too. They never found him. I think I know what happened to them.
Wow.
Yeah, they never found him.
You hear that a lot in these mob stories. Yeah, they never found the guy. They must be good at what they do.
Well, I think the guy who got
guys.
I think the guy who got rid of him, he had the crematorial thing, and they
really?
and they cremated him.
Oh,
yeah,
shoot.
that's why they're never going to find that body.
That's terrible.
Yep, but that's how the guy got his stripes, and the other two guys that were in on it too. Yeah,
They became made men after that?
All of a sudden.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because he was the guy that they killed. He was a made guy or no?
Yeah, he was
At that time.
yeah. I don't think he was a captain yet. I think he still was a soldier. He thought he was probably going to get bumped up, but he was a little nervous. He knew there was something going on. His sister actually knew, and stuff like that. So when I had come home, I was at the gym, and some girl says, "You didn't hear?" And I said, "No." And she's the one who told me. She says, we were all friends in the street, and she says, "Ralphie got killed." I said, "What?" I went over to my friend's house that knew Ralphie. Actually, he used to go out with his daughter, and he said, "It's true." The mother was crying. Oh yeah, no, Ralphie Coppola was a good guy, and he was a tough bastard too. He was a good-looking guy, He just was. He was a good guy, but he was good friends with Barney. Supposedly Barney gave the green light to get rid of him. I don't know for sure, but that's what I heard. But he was nervous about things, and his sister got nervous, and said, "I'm worried about my brother." So he just bought a big home in Scott, and I think it was somewhere. It's a really exclusive neighborhood up in upstate a little bit. Bought a beautiful home. I'll think of the name at one time, and then he just had his third baby. I think he's had 3 sons, and that was it. Nobody ever saw him, heard from him again.
That's terrible.
Yep. And I liked Ralphie. I had a lot of fights in the street with Ralphie.
I was gonna say the name sounds familiar. I think he's been in at least one of your stories.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. No, he was. I was gonna have a problem with these other guys from the Bronx. I didn't know who they was, and there was a few of them there, and so Lenny says, my friend Lenny at that time, Lenny Monteleone, says, "Go talk to Ralphie." He says, "Ralphie, I might have a problem here." He goes, "Okay, listen, don't do anything." He says, "But if you're gonna have a problem," he says, "let me know." I says, "Okay." So some looks going back and forth, a few words back and forth. I turned around, I looked at Ralphie. Ralphie took off his gold chain, and then the shit was on. And
Damn.
oh my God, yeah, Ralphie was tough. Yeah, Ralphie was tough. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, he helped me out. My father helped him out. I saw him driving around Never Show one day. I said, "Ralphie," and he pulled over. He said, "Joe, I'm so glad I saw you." He says, "Is your father around?" I said, "No." I said, "Well, what's the matter?" He says, "Oh," he says, "Do me a favor. Tell your father to get in touch with me. I got a little problem up here in Never Show." I said, "Okay." And then my father helped him out too.
I gotcha.
Ralphie was also my foreman. He was the shop steward, whatever. He was the guy that Nicky used to call me, but he was the guy that got the job at the Jacob Javits Center, and that's how I,
That's how you got the job there.
Well, Barney gave me the job.
Was it a no-show job or was it a noble job?
No, I went there. I had to go.
Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't really work. I mean, I put a few boots together like that, but I didn't kill myself. You know what I'm saying? But I was making 20-something thousand an hour in the 80s.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
You've said it before that most guys end up either dead or in jail in this life.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that more people, what do you think the percentage is? You think more people end up dead in this life or in jail? And how many, also a third percentage, how many you think make it out unscathed like you and Dominic?
More,
not necessarily unscathed, but
yeah.
I mean, you got PTSD and shit, but.
I even got worse than that, even more than that, because, this is something that's not what I was about, but most people spend the rest of their lives in jail, then get killed.
Then get killed still after they get out or in jail?
No, they just die either in jail or whatever. Yeah, because
in prison.
Look at you got Tony Salerno had they gave him 100-something years. You got you got all these guys in there that most of the people will die in jail. Can you get killed out in the street before you get arrested for anything? And if you did something wrong, if they have a suspicion of you or anything like that, of course. But there has been a lot of deaths too in the mafia that a lot of people got killed that should never got killed. Okay, Mike Salerno was one of them. Okay, Mike Salerno was a good guy, but because of gas pipe, he was, they were on a killing spree. And, even with Nicky Scarfo and all of those guys too out there in the Philly mob, there was a lot of guys should never got killed there too. Look, you want to kill somebody in the mafia, sometimes you do it for a few reasons. One, well, obviously everybody knows sometimes this is the way the life is. Sometimes you do it to send a message. You keep guys in line that way better because everybody knows you do something like this bad. It's a death penalty for you. It's a death sentence. That's it. Okay. Look, Dominic just did a skit on his show, Sicali Unfiltered. He said it straight out, man. The guy threatened Vinny's son. Vinny got word of it, and that guy died. Because you should know better not to even make even a stupid comment like that.
What was the threat that he made?
He said, "What if imagine if we kidnapped him? How much money we can get?"
Oh, you know what? I think you mentioned that one time.
Yeah, and you don't even. First of all, you should never even be thinking about thoughts like that, doing it to somebody like Vinny or anything like this. Just because Vinny had a name, Vinny Gorgeous, and he was a good-looking guy too. Don't get me wrong. He was, wasn't just a pretty boy. You know what I'm saying? You're underestimating these people like that. And, Vinny had no problem putting in his own work, okay? Because Dominic told me a long time ago, don't ever underestimate him. And I knew that right away, but Dominic definitely confirmed it for me when we were out in the street. And then when I was in the hole with Vinny, and him and I would talk sometimes, and I said, don't worry, Vinny, I know what to say. And his voice was really loud too. He said, I don't want you to lie. Just tell the truth. I said, absolutely. So, but a lot of people mostly would go in jail and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know the ratio of who would die more.
Yeah, but was it more guys that were going to? I mean, certainly it's more guys were arrested and killed than made it out alive.
Yeah, guys like me and Dominic and stuff like that who testified, hey, we're lucky we're not getting killed. But the mafia, to some degree, is not what it used to be. Now, that doesn't mean that if I saw a couple of wise guys, they're not going to do anything to me. They still probably would. Well, actually, to be honest with you, let me rephrase that. They actually should, because they're supposed to do that.
Right.
Okay. There was a scene from The Sopranos. Tony had to take his daughter to this upstate place for college, and he saw a guy that testified against people or whatever like that. Well, then Tony winds up killing the guy and stuff like that. To be honest with you, that's what he was supposed to do. So, now does the mafia still do that nowadays like that? No. Some guys don't want the trouble or the heat or this or that. It's a lot of it's not the same, but then there's some guys that are very, you ain't going to, they're not going to take it lying down like that. You know what I mean?
Right. You want to answer some comments and questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely do.
Cool. And just to reiterate, guys, we're doing the new segment. We just had the idea, this episode, so it'll obviously start next episode. But send in all your questions so we can have a nice segment next episode. It's going to be called Ask Joe Barone.
Yep.
And you can ask him anything you want, whether it's mob related or not, or you just want to know what kind of hair gel he uses.
Yeah. And then I want to also say something. Dominic had said something on one of his podcasts about, and I want to kind of help him out with that one too. He says, don't give up. Don't, he's been knocked down. Sometimes he'll be working on 10 different things and only 2 might pan out, but that never stopped him from doing anything. And that's the way he was in the street. So he's telling the truth always about that as well. But there was a saying by Babe Ruth, and I wrote this down. I thought it was pretty good. It said, never let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. That's a really good saying, you know what I mean? And that's why I'm going to try to come up with a saying as well every show that I do as well. You got any other questions, or you want to go to the other comments?
Yeah, I do. I have a few more questions actually before.
Sure, go ahead.
I want to know, back to the death thing in the Mafia. Do they ever go after family members?
Yeah.
If they can't get you, like, will they go after your sister, your brother,
Absolutely.
your mom, your dad?
100%.
What would they? Do they just threaten them, or I mean,
It all depends. It depends on what you did. You know, if you cooperated with the government and that your family didn't go with you, your family life is in danger, and that's it. Listen, they did that in the Godfather, in the scene where Pablo out there. He said he swore he was going to get revenge for his father getting killed. Well, guess what happened to him? He died. And then remember the scene where he went there with the mother, the Godfather. He was a little baby, like a little kid, and they said, "Oh, he's done with it. He don't not even speak or whatever." He says, "No, I'm not worried about him now, but when he gets old, I gotta worry." And they wanted to kill him.
Right.
You see, so all that stuff about they don't touch the families, that's nonsense. That's all a lie. If they can't get to you, the whole thing is they're going to get to your family because they know you love them.
So they will kill your family members?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Wow.
Listen. If they want to get you, of course, obviously, but they know you care about your family more than you care about yourself.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of times you see somebody get kidnapped, or I have your daughter. What do you want to do? Okay, I'll be there to let her go, please. Yeah. Come on. You don't want nothing to happen to your family. You know, it's not their fault. It's your fault. So you're going to have to live with the rest of your life doing what you did, right, wrong, good, bad, or indifference. But now it falls on your family. And Michael Francis is one of the people who says it all the time. This life destroys families.
Right.
That's not just about because who was on drugs or who couldn't live or who committed suicide. No, it destroys your whole family. Even the guy from the kid from the Jimmy, what's the name from the Bath Avenue crew said the same thing too. It destroys families. Come on.
My last question before we go to comments is:
Sure.
You mentioned something earlier about you hanging out with a girlfriend or something like that. I wanted to know, were they ever afraid of like dating you? Like, was it, you know?
Well, that's the whole thing. The girls liked it because you were mysterious, you were a gangster.
So they were never afraid.
Well, I never really asked them if they were ever afraid. That wasn't my point to ask them that.
Right.
Listen, they want the action. They want the fun. You know, don't forget too, I was always in a good mood. You know, a lot of wise guys, when they're out there, I was always in a good mood. So it was always like, hey, let's have some fun. Let's do this. Let's do that.
Right.
They see you always dressing nice, looking good, beautiful car, money in your pocket, jewelry, everybody paying you respects when you walk into a restaurant or a bar or wherever you go. So were they afraid? Nobody, listen, are you afraid when you get in the car? Do you think you're going to get into a car accident? No, right?
No, but I know it's a possibility.
So that's maybe the same way they felt, I mean, now, some women, I knew that, like I think I talked about it a long time ago, Chick Charla, back in the days, had the sanitation, and, the girl, they went to the girlfriend to set his partner up and everything like that. She says, yeah, I'll do that. They gave her a few dollars. They told her everything's going to be okay.
They tried to get the girlfriend to set him up, right?
Well, they did.
She did set him up.
Yeah, and then they killed her too.
Yeah.
So, So, she should have known better,
She was a loose end, right?
That's it, man.
Could have ratted on all of them.
Yeah, well, she didn't get a chance. So, but yeah, no, I like I said, I never really asked anybody, but it's like the same thing with the young guys too out there. It's alluring. It's very, wow.
Yeah.
How does this guy do? Is he, because some people think that, these guys are really nice. Oh, he's not a bad guy. He's in the mafia.
Well, they want to see
what?
the good in you too.
Yeah. Oh, he's in the mafia. So what? But meanwhile, they forgot about the guy's head they had to chop off, and they forget about all that stuff who they got to kill and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Come on.
You ready for comments?
Sure. There was one comment I wanted to mention. Some guy mentioned when I talked about Raymond Patriarca. Now, I was in prison with Raymond Patriarca Jr. He had cancer, and we were in Milan, Michigan. And he also had one of his guys there too. Was Matty the horse, they called him, Matty Guglielmo or something like that. I forget. He was another wise guy too. So I don't know if that helps out about that. So I appreciate you sending that comment in. I like it. Always, I could make mistakes, but I know I was with him, the junior, because he had cancer and he beat the cancer too, even while he was in the joint. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You want to?
First comment from Brian Lucia 2531. You're a decent guy, Joe. You just got on the wrong path when you were young. Take the path that Michael Francis has taken spiritually. It will change your life in many ways, Joe. I'll be praying for you. I feel bad for your childhood. These things hurt many of us. Again, I'm praying for you, bro. I love my dad too, but he had me convinced I was stupid and an idiot. I forgave him, but I did not realize I was smart until my 40s. You're not alone.
You know, I really appreciate that too, and I do have spiritual, in me. But those things, so sometimes parents don't know. They do the best they can, but they don't know sometimes by telling you that you're stupid when you're a kid. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's wrong. You don't raise a child like that, or saying that they're not good looking, or you're never going to amount to anything, or whatever. That's not the way to go. You know what I mean? Listen, some children do have certain handicaps, I'm sure, but you should still try to, take care of your kid, boy or girl. Lift them up. Let them know that you're there for them all the time, so that they know they could always count on you. But I appreciate that comment. Thanks so much.
Michael Barbarino 714 says, "Hey, this is Michael from Philadelphia. I lost my father and my best friend to cancer in February.
Wow.
It's the hardest thing I've had to deal with. We used Barone funeral services."
Jeez. Well, I'm very sorry to hear that. My condolences. You have. It does suck, and that's pretty wild how you had a own, Barone funeral home, But listen, hang in there. You just so you know, you're never going to get over it. You never lose the love you have for them. You just, unfortunately, you just lose the contact. But you pray and you talk to them if you have to. You go to the cemetery if you have to. Whatever it takes. Well, I wish you all the best. Believe me. Oh, I wanted to show the picture of Dennis and his father. Now, there was a picture of Dennis, my friend Denisio. He always comments about it. He was my co-defendant. So if you don't mind, this is a picture of Dennis holding my .45 to this guy's head. He was our partner in the when we had Crystal Commercial Credit Corporation. Here's Dennis holding the pistol, and this is a picture of his father. So Dennis, I don't know if you knew I had this picture of your father, and I think I came across the cat you took from me out of my apartment. I appreciate you taking care of that cat. Thanks. Hope things are going well.
Hermosa Fish says, "Man, I love to see you smile when you remember your friends and the times together."
Yeah, thank you for that, Fish. I appreciate it. I had a lot of great times. I got pictures of Lenny Montleone and me with Santa Claus, with teenagers. I got pictures of him when he was bodybuilding. All my friends, even Raymond Barreras and all those guys, Johnny Valenti. I got pictures of a lot of those guys. Larry. I got so many. Damn, I can't. There's just so many. We had so many good times. A lot of us, though. We of course, we had a lot of fights stuff too. Yeah, it was. We had a lot of good fun. My friend Patsy Morano, Louis Galello, and his family. Oh man, we just had so many good times. All of us. I mean, look. When I was a kid, I used to fool around a lot. I had just. A friend of mine reminded of my story of I was Center Avenue Pizza. There was an office next to it, and I used to go there with the pizza. It was all the way in the back was this guy. He was fat, and I used to go, "Hey, buddy, you want a slice of pizza?" And I would eat the pizza. I said, "Come on, Chubby." He used to get mad because I called him Chubby. Now, I was only a kid. I was like maybe 13 years old, 14 years old, 16 years old maybe, and he said, "I'm going to get," so he'd get up out of the desk and he couldn't walk that fast. And I said, "Come on, you got a slice of pizza, come on." But then, I would just tease him and he'd try to grab me and I would, get out of the way and then I'd leave, he would try to run after us, but we just did fun stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't mean to call him fats or anything like that, but he was what he was, you know what I mean?
JLEG6IU, that's a fancy username. Joe, do you believe that the feds had the answer to your question?
I do believe they had some answers that they had withheld from me. Yes, I do. That's actually a good question.
And to those who don't know, that comment was from episode 26, where Joe was talking about the death of his father. So that's what that question's pertaining to.
Yep. And so I do. I don't know why they withheld stuff from me. Well, I'm pretty sure I got a good idea. But, they're not going to tell me everything, just like they wouldn't tell, just like I probably wouldn't tell them everything. So it's a kind of a thing. Like I figured that was the best way, but they definitely had some answers. And also, speaking about old friends, I got my friend Rob from Rockland County. He saw that I was doing, he said, "You're doing good, Joe. Thanks." I want to say hello to him. And also want to say hello to my friend Jeff Du Bois. We grew up together since we're kids on Ashland Street. Matter of fact, they're the ones, I think his brother Paul is the one who taught me how to make the triple decker peanut butter and jelly sandwich, because we were all poor back then. And so I haven't seen Jeff. We grew up together. His brother Steven, Paul, I think there was David and somebody else. I think he had another brother too. We all grew up together. Jeff, I hope things are going well, man. Send any comments, say hello, appreciate it. Good to hear from you.
Big Lou PR says, in the Pizza Connection case, I don't think the drugs were in the pizza boxes, but instead I think they were in the cans of imported goods coming over the pond and then into Canada before coming into the Big Apple.
Yes, Big Lou, you probably 100% correct on that. It's just funny to say it in the pizza box because the pizza box kind of small. That key is probably pretty
funnier
big
for the story.
Yeah. But thank you, Lou, for that. Yeah, thanks. You were right. It was in the cans because the cans kept the smell in too better. Yep. Good. Thank you, Lou, for helping that clear me up. It looks like I ain't always 100%, but I don't lie.
Czar Khan 3679 says, "We've all been there, bro. Real men cry."
Oh, thank you, Zan. Yep, I don't make any bones about me if I shed a tear. Listen, I'm a real person. I got a heart. You know what I'm saying? I got feelings like anybody else, and if they get expressed through a tear or through a laugh or in a fight I have to have, I'm gonna do everything the way it comes out. I'm not gonna hide who I am or whatever. I never did. No, you ask any of my friends in their shell. I never pretended I was anybody I wasn't, except when I was the wise guy. But I had to do that because I was trying to find out who was my father. But believe me, let me tell you something. What my friends seem to forget is that I was with the real wise guys. I was doing work with these guys. And if the time would come that I was going to have to make my bones, that was going to happen too. So, it wasn't what I wanted. Everybody knows me as funny, happy, and that's the way I really would love to live the rest of my life. And even I wish I didn't have to get involved in that, but it is what it is.
Brooklyn 6570 says, "Joe, please know there's no need to apologize for showing emotions. That's what a real man in touch with himself can do. Thank you. I'm no softie / Gen Zer. I've been around the block 20 times like you, but in a different way. It's just part of the healing process, but I'm sure you know that already. I'm going through something similar, and it ain't easy. We'll both be better men for it. Stay strong, brother."
Thank you, Brooklyn. That was really kind of you. I really appreciate that. Look, I wish you all the best as well. Stay tuned to the channel. You need any help or you ever want to talk on the phone, I'm always open. Believe me, you're a good guy, and I appreciate that, Brooklyn. You're 100% correct.
Jeffrey E8D says, "Joe, Jeff Dubois here. What's up, brother?"
It's Jeff Dubois, but I call him Du Bois.
Du Bois?
Yeah. That was my friend. He sent a few comments in. Yeah, we grew up, like I said, we grew up together since we were kids.
New Rochelle?
We actually got beat up together. We got jumped in school.
Oh, wow.
Back in the days, yeah. We got jumped.
In high school?
No, we were in junior high school. These guys weren't in school anymore. And it was about maybe 8 of them that came up there. It was black guys, and it was me, Jeff, Greg, and some girl. We told the girl to run when we saw them. But Jeff, I don't know how he did. I think he broke his toe. They didn't do anything to Greg, and then me, they beat the shit out of me. I had black and blues, my whole rib cage. I mean, I was messed up. My chin is still uneven from when I was on my hands and knees because I had a cast on this hand, and then I was holding it. I was on my knees, and they kept kicking the back of my head, smashing it in the blacktop.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so my nose was messed up and everything. And my father went to the projects. He was gonna do some damage over there, but I asked him not to because I don't want him to go to jail.
William Petrocelli says, "I don't think the Genovese family had anything to do with your father. I really don't think they would go to Honduras, but that's just my opinion."
William, you could be correct. I'm not going to say that doesn't sound right. You could be 100% correct.
William Petrocelli, again from him, he says, You have some story. It's very sad. My life is totally boring compared to yours. Although I did make the front page of the paper, it says alleged bank fraud ties to the Genovese crime family.
Wow.
And it was all bullshit, too. It's all because my ex-wife's cousin was with the Genovese family, and actually Dom knew him very well. He was locked up with him. And his captain even mentioned it in his podcast, Louis Reed Little Al. I'm not sure what that last part is.
Okay. I don't know if I know him, but that's pretty.
He didn't say his name anywhere.
Okay.
He didn't mention a name.
Well, that's pretty good. Yeah, no, listen, I get it, man. That sucks when you get falsely accused of stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, that's I appreciate that comment too, because listen, you're better off having a boring life. Believe me when I tell you, it's not really. You might think it's boring to you, but it's a life that a lot of people probably
It's peaceful,
envy.
is what it really
That's
is.
right.
It's
A lot
peace.
listen, like I said before, a lot of people. Look, some people got straight hair, some people got curly hair. They wish they had the opposite all the time.
Right.
If I was a postman and I was happy and married and had children and stuff like that, is that a boring life? No. It's just a regular life, man. But at least you don't ever have to look over your shoulder. You don't ever have to worry about who you got to kick up to, who's going to come get you. You just live your life. So, but I appreciate that comment. That's really good. I also want to thank Vlad TV too. He was very, very nice to me. Very good, very generous. And also the Connect podcast for having me on. Also Bobby Luisi's show that I did. All of these shows, the Jordan Harbinger show. Of course, definitely Dominic. We're going to be doing a lot of shows together too as soon as he gets a few things lined up. And we're really trying to work things out between him and I. And I'm going to go and see him, too. He said, you better get your ass down here. So when the captain calls, you know what I mean?
Jacob BV1314 says, Happy New Year, Joe. Another great podcast. And I love the singing as well. You can tell there's a real voice in there.
Hey, thanks, Jacob. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's starting to heal. One time I had a really good voice. I mean, I'm older now, too. But we used to do a lot of stuff like that in the restaurants. I would do I like Tony Bennett. I did a lot of Tony Bennett. Matter of fact, I sang to my girl over the weekend, and was nice. I think she liked it. A lot of people got up and left, but what are you going to do? And I'm only kidding. But we used to do that too. Tony Bennett was one of my favorite too, and I don't know if did he pass away, Tony Bennett? Or I know he had the dementia. I don't know if he died yet.
He's old. He's got to be dead.
Oh no, I remember. Forget it. Tony Bennett was like one of my favorites. I wanna be around.
He's got to be dead now.
To pick up the pieces when somebody breaks your heart. Somebody twice as smart as I. It's for somebody who would swear to be true as you used to do with me.
That's a good one.
Who'll leave you to learn that misery loves company? Wait and see. I want to be around. Anyway, that's what I used to do.
Joe, Tony Bennett died last year.
Oh, he did die last year. Yeah.
Looked it up.
I figured that. Yeah. Well, I think he did that last concert with Lady Gaga. And that was really, he still remembered some stuff, and he was good, you know what I mean? His paintings were good. I wish I had one of his paintings. His daughter, I think, sings too. And so I was glad she did that concert with him. They actually made a good team. Lady Gaga, she's a paisan like us. She's Italian. Come on, bro. You got to like Lady Gaga. But I mean,
I didn't know that. She's Italian?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't
and
know
she's
that.
got a lot of, but she's got talent all the way around. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So, and
Sure.
Tony
She's
Bennett.
a good actress, too. She acts, too.
A lot of people don't realize, like when Robin Williams, may he rest in peace as well. I mean, he was a comedian. Everybody thought he was just going to be a comedian and a joke. But let me tell you something. He was
an actor.
One of the best actors I've ever seen.
Real deep. Like, there's a lot of emotion and really deep feelings behind underneath that smile, you know?
He played...
He had a lot of shit going on.
Oh, you're right. He could play serious. He could play the psychopath that he played. He played everything with no problem. He was really something, let me tell you. And I was watching Don Johnson and Nash Bridges. It's an old show and stuff like that, but Don Johnson's one of my favorite actors too. You know, everybody wanted to be Don Johnson with the jacket back in those days and shit like that. Hugo Palomino used to be with that jacket. Hugo.
One last question here, or a comment, rather.
Okay, go ahead.
From 777 The Truth. Says, "Hey Joe, I believe that little quote you read sounds like it came from the poem that is read by recovering addicts or anyone stuck in depression, etc. It's called the Serenity Prayer, and it says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference."
That is a good quote. That is a serenity prayer. You're right, 777. I appreciate it. You make a lot of comments on my show here, and I appreciate that and keep them coming too, please. I don't know if that comment that I made was from the serenity prayer, but I'll get certain quotes like I do.
I think it
with
was
the book.
you said the first half. You just said the part where it says some things I can't change and worry about the things you can.
Yeah, I forget what quote it was. So we're gonna try to follow up on that on the next show again because I like that. And yeah, he sends a lot of comments my way, so I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. And so, anyways, guys, we're gonna end it here, right? I'm gonna get some lunch. I'm starving. Thanks for tuning into the Goodfellow Podcast. And like I said, please subscribe. It costs nothing. Give us a thumbs up if you like us. And don't forget about the Patreon channel. We are going to start that thing about Ask Joe. You could ask me anything personal. If I could answer it, I will. Anything about the wise guy life, anything about the feds, anything about anything. I don't care. Politics, the government, anything like that. I appreciate it. So just ask. But we appreciate everything. Thanks for tuning in. Peace and love, guys.